After 10,399 days in maximum and medium security Canadian penitentiaries, I've been out in the community for the last 14 months, engaged in a campaign of education at universities, faith communities, and with businesses to help people to understand how the Canadian correctional system works, its benefits, and the role that the public needs to play in ensuring that public safety is an important feature of our criminal justice system. Recently, I found out that I'm not the only one who's on a campaign.
Paul Bernardo is the worst of the worst. He is a serial murderer, a serial rapist, a dangerous offender. He's a monster. He did unspeakable sex offenses against numerous women. I can safely say this guy is the worst of the worst. We do not believe he can ever be rehabilitated because his offenses were so bad.
This is Mr. Caputo, an MP from a major Canadian party that will be vying for your vote, probably in the next federal election. And he is also on a campaign to alert Canadians to the inequities in the Canadian correctional system and probably in the Canadian economic system. I'm not sure why he chose Mr. Bernardo as his case subject, because as everyone in the correctional system and most of the justice system knows, Mr. Bernardo will likely never be released into the community in his lifetime. That's just the nature of the correctional system. However, let's see what he has to say.
Mid-2023, Paul Bernardo had been in maximum security where he belonged for about 20 years. But in the dead of night, in the cloak of secrecy, he was transferred to medium security.
On Friday, news broke that the serial rapist and killer had already been transferred from this Ontario maximum security prison to a medium security one in Quebec.
I wanted to see what medium security was really like. So I went to the jail, La Macasa, where Paul Bernardo is incarcerated. I walked in, and the first thing you notice is how big of a property it is.
It's unfortunate that Mr. Caputo was unable to attend other sites. We have about 20 medium security facilities that the taxpayers pay for in Canada, and not all of them have as much real estate, nor are they cookie cutter prisons. Some of them have a little bit more, and some of them have a little bit less, depending on the size of the population. But let's see what else he found at La Macasa.
Feels like a university campus. If you go to maximum security, it's really confined. There are doors everywhere in maximum security. You go to medium security, it's not really all that confined. It feels like university. It's like you're walking from building to building, just like you're walking from class to class.
I'm sorry, but I respectfully disagree. I spent the last 14 months going from university to university, class to class, talking to criminology and criminal justice students about the correctional system and how it is that it can be improved and what its strengths are. And in no case have I ever been to a campus that is surrounded by double razor wire, a double fence, a man in a truck with a gun trained to use it. Nor have I ever been to a campus in Canada where I've been required to take off all of my clothes and participate in a very invasive strip search prior to entering the classroom. Maybe the university campus thing isn't the best analogy for Canadian prisons.
So my tour begins, and the first place they take me is to Paul Bernardo's unit. And for those who don't know, a unit is essentially a bunch of jail cells. So that's where he lives. And that's when I started to get angry, because I walked outside and I had a look and I said, "What's that? Looks like a hockey rink." It was. Inmates can go and they can get skates and they can play hockey. There are hockey nets and everything. If you want to play in the evening, there are halogen lights. It looked just like an outdoor basketball court at a community.
Mr. Caputo, I think you've been pranked. I feel tremendously bad for you. I think you've been the victim of somebody's kind of cruel joke. What they never told you on the tour is that every single Canadian penitentiary, as a measure of public safety, has large halogen lights. It's not for the inmates to play sports in the evening. They're on 24 hours. It's so that nobody escapes, so that public safety is secured. I wish they told you that.
Or at your local baseball stadium. So that's not bad enough. The hockey rink, well lit, actually turns into a tennis court. If I wasn't pissed off enough seeing the hockey rink and the tennis court.
This is how you know for sure that Mr. Caputo has been the victim of a cruel joke. Because if that's a tennis court, then I'm Roger Federer. Somebody, somewhere, took some paint or some chalk and painted it on the dirt. I don't know what kind of tennis you could play on that kind of court, but you wouldn't want to bet money on it. What else are the inmates at La Macasa doing?
There was more. The cherry on top was seeing this beautiful gymnasium, and next to that is a weight room, much nicer than I'd say 95% of Canadians have access to.
And in this, I join you with being upset, Mr. Caputo, because it is an absolute shame in our economy that 95% of Canadians do not have access to a gym as good as they have in a penitentiary. However, it's not about making the penitentiary soft. Gymnasium and sports is a mechanism and a way to keep the staff safe in the Canadian Public Penitentiary. The reason why is that men and women are cooped up in their cells all day long. They have pent up emotions and energies. And when you do have to open the door to feed them or exercise them or whatever else has to happen, we want to make sure that they are directing those energies in a positive fashion and not against the staff in a negative fashion. The staff in a federal penitentiary are the reason that we put gyms and hockey rinks and tennis courts into federal penitentiaries. It's not an entertainment zone. It's a stress management strategy that has proven effective to keep Canadian prison staff safe. I wish someone had told you this because it would have alleviated a lot of your frustration.
He has a billiards table where he can play pool, and then you walk a little ways, and what do you find? You find a workshop where he can sign out tools, chisels, scissors, hammers, duct tape.
No, that didn't just happen. They actually did that to him. Mr. Caputo, I feel sorry because you have been the subject of a cruel joke. That is not funny at all. No one in a Canadian federal penitentiary can even purchase duct tape, never mind sign out duct tape from a hobby shop. Just think about it. That would be the equivalent of saying we could sign out handcuffs or a handcuff key or sign out a hacksaw. Whoever it is that whipped out the duct tape and brought it in and showed it to you in the hobby shop, that just wasn't kind. And if I had been with you as an inmate representative, I would have protected you from that. I would have called them on the carpet for that nonsense.
The worst criminals in Canadian history is actually living better than most Canadians. It shouldn't take an MP having to go into a jail to tell you this. Paul Bernardo,
and I agree with you fully, Mr. Caputo. I think that it should not take an inexperienced MP going into one prison to be able to explain to Canadians how their very expensive prison system works. Here's my contact information right here. It would be my pleasure, my privilege to be able to take you on a tour of any institution in Canada and show you what prison is through the eyes and perspective of someone who spent 30 years there. Thank you for everything you do, but unfortunately, you have been the victim of a cruel joke that I would like to remedy.